Hello, friends. I hope you are doing well today. By the grace of God. Today, I want to talk about terminal illness concerning conversations. Conversations are so important. And so, the goal of today is to talk about how soon you start having conversations. Now, notice there are some terminal illnesses that can be very deceiving. Well, someone with dementia, there is there's decline in cognition. So, with dementia, people who are diagnosed with dementia lose cognition over time. Now, when people are diagnosed either with something like cancer, something like congestive heart failure, that doesn't necessarily impact their mind. It's easy to feel like there is no way death is nearing. Not all cancer is terminal, not all congestive heart failure is terminal. People live with these conditions for many, many years. However, when it comes to time when the doctors say there's nothing else we can do, no matter how well a person is feeling, it's important to listen to what the doctors are saying because based on studies, they tell you these things or they tell us these things based on studies that have been done for a long, long time, for many years. So these doctors are not trying to be mean. It's not like they don't care. Actually, a doctor who tells someone the truth cares much more than someone who's not telling the truth because many times our minds can think that somebody who is telling you you'll live forever and ever, or someone who's telling us will live forever and ever, we can think that that is somebody who care and love us. And actually, that doesn't make sense because number one, nobody will live this life forever and ever and ever. We will all one day die, all of us. One day death will come. And no matter how much we avoid thinking about it, it will surely come. So it's better to be prepared. It's better to put your ducks in a row. I hope I'm saying it correctly. But the sooner people can have conversations about life and especially wishes, the better. And here is why. As people get closer to dying, even people who their mind was completely alert for many months, the doctor might say, there's nothing else we can do. We have done our best. Go take care of yourself. Let your family take care of you. And people who have mental alertness feel like the doctor is crazy. The doctor is dreaming. But these doctors are looking at many things. They are looking at the organs, how the organs are functioning. They are looking at all these things that are not visible to our eyes, but they can see. And when the organs are failing, it's a matter of time before someone dies. So, organ conditions don't necessarily take away mental alertness. And that is deceptive because people don't realize that because you are thinking clearly, because we are thinking clearly, it's easy to think there's no way. And it's very normal with human beings. We don't see death coming to us. Death is always out there with them, those other people, not us, not our family. It's normal to think that way. Most people think that way until it actually happens. So it's important to have as many conversations. As a matter of fact, I encourage people have all kinds of conversations even when you are not sick because things happen to people. There are people who leave home with plans to come back and then they don't come back. So it's important to have all kinds of conversations with the people that matter. Uh, Talk about your wishes, even if you think you're going to live for another 80, 90 years. Talk about what your wishes are because none of us is immune and none of us know. We pray for the best and all that, but especially when someone has a progressive disease, even if it's not terminal yet, it's good to have conversations. The sooner the better. Practical example, when my mom was diagnosed with terminal, not with terminal, but with congestive heart failure, just by the symptoms and my observation, I could tell that it wasn't going to be a lot of years. So I was very intentional on having conversations about things that I knew would matter to my mom based on how I knew my mom. So I was having conversations with her, I was asking questions, I was clarifying what her wishes were. Why? Because people look fine. They are talking, they are laughing. Everything looks good because you can have conversations and talk. But what happens is towards the end, things go really quickly. Things go really, really quickly. The mind can just go crazy all of a sudden and not come back to its previous status, where people get confused. There's delirium. There's just different things going on, and someone is not as alert. Someone is not lucid. So you can't have the same conversations as you have been having, and this happens very quickly. So one of the worst enemies of end of life is denial. Many people experience denial, many people deal with denial, and they stay with denial to the end, which ends up causing a lot of complications at the end and after a loved one has died. Because when there's denial, people don't take care of things that need to be taken care of for people to come to a place of peace when death nears, when death is happening, and after death. So, because nobody knows how things are going to go towards the end, that last week, which even as the doctors say there's nothing else we can do, and the doctors say we are thinking your loved one has about 6 months or less. That's when it's termed as terminal diagnosis. When the doctor says you most probably have 6 months or less to go. then it's termed as a terminal diagnosis. Now, sometimes the doctors actually tell people you have less than a month left, you have a week left. I have had patients who were given less than a week, and it actually happened. I was talking with these patients, like they are telling me, the doctor says, I'm dying in days. They were talking with me face to face, and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking what they are thinking. How can this be? You're talking to me, you're making sense, everything. And then you come in 2 days and the person is completely confused. They don't make sense, or they are completely sleeping and not able to awaken. Why? Because there's organ failure where organs start to shut down. And when organs start to shut down, they affect the mental status. There is less oxygen in the brain. The brain also starts to sleep. And so if we are waiting to see somebody really, really sick to believe that they are gonna be dying, it's very easy to be left with a lot of regret, to be left wishing they knew or they accepted. So the sooner you can have all kinds of conversations about what your loved one wishes are, the better for your loved one. They'll have a lot of peace when they are dying, knowing things were taken care of the way they wanted things to be taken care of. That helps people to die with a lot of peace. Now, one of some of the most difficult deaths or dealing with terminal illness is parents who have young children. Parents who have young children, every parent wants to raise their own child, especially mothers. And I know fathers too, they feel it. But every parent want to raise their own child. And all things equal, the best person to raise any child is the parent. All things equal. I understand there are situations where a parent is not fit to raise their child for various reasons. I understand that. But all things equal, the best person is a biological mother, a biological parent. So when parents with young children, I get tempted to say young parents, but our moms, like my mom was married at the age of 16. It was normal in their day. It was very normal. I have had many patients that were married at the age of 16 that were around my mom, my dad's age. That was normal. Today, people get married in their 30s. There are many people having children in their 30s, even in their 40s. It's become normal. So it's tempting to say young parents, but no, it's parents who have young children. Um, they want to raise their children. So it's devastating when any parent, especially with young children, is told that they have a terminal illness. And as this is young children, they are not of legal age. So there can be a lot of complications when children are not old enough to manage their own lives. So any parent given such news, it's very devastating. It's one of the most devastating way to have terminal illnesses, parents with young children. Some of the things that really help, actually, again, acceptance, which is very difficult, very difficult. But what I say is, even without full acceptance, take some steps to prepare. It's always better to prepare and nothing happens than to not prepare and then everything happens anyway. One thing I have come to see happen, I mean, I grew up in a culture that doesn't, still to today, doesn't deal well with deaths. But one thing that my experience has taught me is preparing your life doesn't cause the death to come sooner. It really doesn't. I would have died many years ago myself if I was saying, ooh, if I write a will, it's gonna make me die sooner. If I talk about my wishes, it's gonna make me die sooner. I could have died long time ago. I'm telling you, it doesn't make people die quickly. Now, I'm going to talk about Christians because I'm a Christian and I've worked with many Christians. And Christians have get confused. If I accept that I'm dying, or if I accept this terminal illness could lead to death, is that a lack of faith? Is that making God not work? And the answer is no. Accepting that there's a terminal illness doesn't make God not come through and perform a miracle if it is His will. But there is so much that we don't understand humanly. And the other thing is death is not the end. There is heaven. There is a place. Jesus said, I'm going to go and prepare a place for you. Can you imagine Jesus preparing a place for me? I cannot imagine a better place to be than to be in a place that Jesus has prepared for me. So we take death hard as human beings because we are human and God understands that. And He helps us in those times of need. It's normal for humans to take death hard, but it makes sense to deal with it, to face it, and deal with it. Because when people don't deal with it, they are left with pain, regret. At the end, our loved ones can have extreme anxiety when they are actually dying. I've seen people with so much anxiety that they are trying to climb out of bed because of terminal agitation. It's like that when that lucidity comes a little bit and they realize that they have no control, and you see people trying to even jump and crawl out of bed because of being very anxious, which as a spiritual care provider, I believe when people have not taken care of their business and come to a state of peace in their mind, that is what we see. And the thing is, lack of spiritual peace, lack of mental peace cannot be cured by medication. So many times when people have terminal agitation, they are given medication to make them sleep. It doesn't take away the fact that they haven't dealt with important issues of their life. And as a spiritual care provider, I'm an advocate for people to be able to deal with spiritual things so that they can die peacefully, not die in a coma and they haven't taken care of things that are important to them. For example, Christians or people who believe in life after death. One of the major concerns is, where am I going after I die? And I have led many people to Christ on their deathbed. Why? Because many people don't realize that death is coming until it's actually right there. And then they realize and they want to make sure their sins are forgiven. They want to make sure that they make amends with God so that when they die, they go to heaven. So many people that have a Christian background, it's very important for them to get to a place of peace. That's one thing. Or to make things known to their loved ones what their wishes are pertaining certain things. But many people don't get to have those conversations. Why? Because people avoid them until it's too late. Until it's too late. And then sometimes, as people get weaker, because again, when people are terminally ill, they don't eat well. So their bodies start to get weak. They are not moving around the muscle tones. They start to lose muscle. Um, So the whole body is really dying slowly by slowly. And it takes all their energy and then they can't talk. So sometimes they might have something in mind they want to say, but they are not able to talk it out. Which is why, if you know your loved one very well, you can ask questions when you, especially if you think they are trying to talk. Okay, so when my mom was dying, she was trying to talk to me. She wanted me to be there. She had told me that. The last time I saw her 3 weeks before she died, she was begging me not to go. I went because I have a family and I had set it a certain way to go for a certain time. So I had to go back. My hope was to come back and be with my mom when she was dying. That didn't happen. However, I had conversations. I wasn't left feeling like there was something I should have done. Actually, God revealed to me that it wasn't his wish for me to be there physically when my mom was dying because many things I could have announced that my mom was dying and it would not have been a peaceful death because not everybody was on the same page. So my mom would have died in a vehicle, either being taken to the hospital or she could have died in a hospital ward by herself. So when I look back to that, I know God works all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. My mom ended up having a very peaceful death. So peaceful and according to her desires and wishes. However, in the last couple weeks of her dying process, she kept wanting to talk to me and she would say, after I came back to US, I would call. And 3 times my mom did this. The first time she says, come, I want to talk to you. And she wanted to talk to me in private. And I'm like, Mom, but then she would get tired and she would stop talking. Should request for privacy. That didn't happen. But I was praying and I'm like, God, what is it that my mom wants to tell me? What is it that she has left that she is trying to communicate? And I was just praying and I was seeking God. I was like, God, tell me what it is that my mom is trying to tell me. And I had a dream one morning. And I saw in that dream, my mom was saying, come, I want you to be here when I'm dying. I want you to be here. In that dream, I saw my mom saying that to me. And I woke up, I said, God, was that a dream? It seemed so real. And God assured me in my spirit that's what my mom was trying to say. Lo and behold, I called my mom that day on video chat. And my mom, exactly how I saw it in the dream, She started calling me, coming closer to the screen. She said, "Come, come, I want to talk to you." And she was coming closer to the screen. And then she should tire and sit back. And I said, "Mom, it's okay. I know what you want to tell me. I know you want me to be there." And she nodded. And I said, "Mama, I know that. I'm believing God. He'll make a way. Somehow I'll be there." So I said that to my mom. Now, the reason I share this is if you know your loved one and they are trying to say something, you can probe. Are you trying to say this? Are you trying to say that? Because they might not have the energy to speak it out, but if you say what they want to say, at least they can nod. Somehow they can let you know that's what they are trying to say. Now, cut long story short, for my mom, I wasn't there in person, but I was on video chat. So I watched the last several minutes of my mom's life on video chat. And I watched her take her last breath. I was coaching her on video chat. So God is so faithful. One way or the other, He made it happen. But with sooner conversations, the reason that I was able to really take care of my mom and be there for her is because the last 4 years of her life, when she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, I looked at her and I knew. So I started having very intentional conversations with my mom. I was talking to her, I was asking her questions, she was telling me what her wishes were. And those years I spent trying to get to the heart of my mom. So God is faithful because I watched my mom have a very peaceful death, a good death, what we call in hospice a good death. And I was left very peaceful. My grief for my mom was before she passed. And after I have grieved, but not as much as before because I knew it was coming. So, anyway, my encouragement today is the sooner you can have those conversations, the better it's going to be as death nears and as death comes and as death happens. And then after the death. So, I encourage you, don't push it away. Refusing to talk about it is not going to stop anything. I guarantee you, very, very few people who have been diagnosed with terminal illness have lived longer. And what I mean longer is like there was one person I met that, for example, that was diagnosed with terminal illness and he was praying. He had things that he was feeling that he needed to do. And somehow God answered his prayer and gave him 10 more years. And when I met this person, he was dying of something completely different. So that was a miracle that God took away that cancer completely. When I met him later, he was dying of something else. And he was telling me, "I'm at peace. I'm ready to go. God gave me a chance to take care of all my business, take care of my wife, do this, do that. Now I'm ready to go to him." And he wanted, there's a song that says, "My way." I did it my way. It was amazing. But very few of so many, many, many people, when the doctors are saying this is terminal, which is usually around 6 months or less, is what their prediction is. Although, depending on the disease, some people might live. I've also seen people live for 3 years thinking they are dying every day of 3 years. So, only God knows. However, Even these people who have seen live for 3 years, once they are told it's 6 months, I've seen them take care of their business. I've seen them say, every day I live is a bonus. They take care of their business, they are at peace with God, they are at peace with their families, and they are just enjoying their life every day. Like, whenever God comes, I'm ready. So the sooner the conversations, the better. Because once things are taken care of, then people relax and they eat what they want, they enjoy the company of their loved ones. And then if things shut down unexpectedly or quickly, people are not left with regrets. People are not left thinking, I wish, but that they have taken care of business. So that was my encouragement today. The sooner, the better. Otherwise, thank you for joining me. Please share these videos, um, share them. I know there's people that are benefiting from this. Let's get educated so that when our time comes, because it sure will come, we can have a peaceful death. We can't run away from death, physical death, but we can have eternal life with Christ for those who believe in Him. So, God bless. Um, these are difficult subjects, but I'm gonna be here teaching, educating, providing counseling, support any way I can, because I don't want to die with this knowledge. When my day comes, I want to be able to look back and hope that I helped somebody. So God bless.